Alright, so picking up where we left off, after we've rasterized our particles and the points that we had scattered into the volume that we created, now we're going to use this shape as a base for our particle fluid. And this is really where we're going to spend the majority of our time really honing in our shape and doing some fun stuff. So the first thing we want to do is come down to the bottom of our chain after we've rasterized our particles. We want to throw down a convert VDB. Plug that in. Okay, and from here, instead of volume, we want to convert this to polygons. And then in the ISO value, just put that to say 0.1. Whoops. 0.1. And now we have a mesh that has the shape and the contour that we want, that is based off of what we created in the first section. So now what we want to do is use this as our base for the particle fluid. So now that this exists, just for speed and efficiency, let's go ahead and cache this out. So let's throw down file cache, and we'll call this pfluid base, and we don't need a range. Let's just cache the current frame and go ahead and hit save to disk. Alright, that should take no time at all. So now we'll go load from disk, cut the connection, and boom, there you go. So we have this, and now this will be much faster for us to use because we don't have to run through all these things, going from the original cache into a point wrangle to rasterize. It's just going to speed up our workflow. It's always preferential to cache things out wherever you can to speed things up. So now that we have that, let's move him down, give him his own little area. Okay. C for color. Sure, let's just say that it's going to be green. And we'll call this again GeoBase for particle fluid. Alright. So from here, let's go up a level, have this selected, and go ahead and come on up here to emit particle fluid. Click that, hit enter in the workspace, and then it's going to build our network. Give that a second to think. Okay. And now we have to do a little bit of cleaning up and organizing. So we don't need this particle fluid interior, so just go ahead and delete that. And then same thing inside here, we don't need any of this. Just leave these alone. Okay, and then let's group these. Call this particle fluid. All right. And then now within the stop network, go ahead and let's lower this particle separation just a touch to begin with. Okay, but you'll see right off the bat that we've kind of mushed out into a blob as opposed to the shape of what we had created before. So to mess with that, we want to come back in to the geo itself, go to this create surface, and we want to slowly start to lower this number. Now what we're going to do here is we're actually going to break this connection. So this guy is tying into the particle sampling in the actual DOP for the particle fluid. But for testing purposes, I don't want that to be connected because I want this shape to conform to what I want it to be. So we'll just go ahead and break that connection so that now we can edit this independent of the DOP. Let's put that down to 0.01. And now you'll see that we're starting to get closer to the actual shape of what we had. So again, take the shell thickness down, and there you go. So now you can see that we're getting into the realm of the detail of what we had, but we can still lower it down a bit more. Okay, so we're going to settle in here around voxel size 0.002 and shell thickness 0.03. But the next thing we would need to do is go ahead and do output fog. Okay, and now this is what we're going to end up working with to emit our particle fluid from. So let's hop up a level, go back into our DOP network, and now you can see that we will be filling this volume, whoopsie, with our particles. And it will conform to the shape of what we created. So we're looking really good at this point. So now, as we go into this, we're going to want to set some attributes before we move forward because they're going to be crucial to us down the line. Now the first things that I want to set up is I want to go over to the flip solver, and I want to come under the particle motion tab, and right here I want to turn on age particles. That one setting beyond all others is going to help us drive everything that we do moving forward, and you'll see that later on. But for now, age particles is essential. You have to turn this on. And then from there, I want to add vorticity. And I like to set the vorticity scale somewhere between 100 and 1,000. Let's just put it at 1,000. It's going to be something that we'll use a scale multiplier for later on as we're using this attribute. So 1,000 or 100, whichever you want, but we're going to go with 1,000. And I also like to add rest attributes. We don't have to do anything with droplets or separation, and we want to turn off reseed particles. All right. From there, in behavior, we really don't need to mess with anything else. Volume motion, we can play with viscosity. It depends on what you want to do, but we don't really need to do that right now because we're going to be messing with this shape using a point VOP, so we don't really need to use viscosity at the moment. So for now, let's just leave it off. Narrowband we don't need, distribution we don't need. And then on the flip fluid object itself, there's really nothing that we need to change here. Now, you can add temperature and divergence just to have extra attributes to play with down the line, but really all we're going to be using is age and vorticity. Okay, so we don't really need to change anything here. And then up in here, all this is fine just the way that it is. Okay. So really, ultimately, all we're going to be changing is that we just wanted to add the age particles and the vorticity and the rest. Okay? Now, the good thing for us is with this flip fluid object, we're going to reduce the particle separation scale by a good amount because we want to be in the range of somewhere for sure in the tens of millions. 1 million is not going to be enough. Once we sim out a couple frames, we're going to be doing tens of millions. So we can have this particle separation relatively low because we're not going to sim more than maybe 3 to 5 frames of particle fluid. That's going to give us everything that we need. So we can really take this guy down low because in the end, by the time we reach around frame 5 or 6, we want to be in the 40 to 80 million particle range. So let's just see where we get with particle separation of 0.005. And then we can come up a level and then hop into our particle fluid. And let's go ahead and throw down a file cache node. And we'll call this particle fluid A. Okay, and then as we're about to cache out, we want to go ahead and turn off this surface, because what that will do is that will write into the cache that geocache that we were emitting from. We just want the particles and the velocity. So let's go now in this frame range. That's fine. Let's cut this off at, let's say, 6 frames. Only want to sim for 6 frames. Go ahead and save to disk. Give that a moment to cache. Okay. And then now, load from disk. Take us all the way over to frame 6. Okay. And so from here, we can see we've got about 11 million particles. That's lower than what I want, but for the moment, roll with that. And let's throw down a point vol. And we're going to do something similar to what we had done in the first section, where we can throw down our flow noise and an add. Go ahead and get all this hooked up. Okay, cool. Always set this to be a 3D input. And real quick, let's go ahead and save this scene. I'm gonna jump ahead a few. All right. And so then now from here, we can do things similar to what we've done before, increase the amplitude, things like that. But for now, let's just leave this sort of as is, because what I want you to see, the whole reason we did this is, we now have a shape that's not unlike what we had created before. But what's different between this and the volume that we created in the first section, you'll see if we come down here, throw down a visualize node, and change that to a ramp. From attribute. Let's see, ramped attribute. And we can see, if we middle mouse button click, that we have that age, the rest, and the vorticity. And what we can do is we can use that if and when my machine wants to respond. Okay, let's just type it in. Age. Okay, so we've got our age ramped in here. And instead of using auto, so we can have a little bit extra control, we can do min-max. Let's just say 0.1. Yeah. 0.2. Give us a little bit of range. And so here you can see where from the age of the particles, we're going to be able to make some pretty cool colors streaming through the interior of the volume in a way we were not able to with just scattering points into a volume. So let's start playing with these ramps a little bit. So what I want to do is, let's change this one to white, and this one to blue. Let's see. Yeah, no, let's just do true blue. Okay. And then from out here at the red, let's throw in sort of an orange. Or actually for this one, let's throw down the black body. So we've got some color variation in here. Let's throw in as well, how about, why not? Let's throw some green in there. And you'll start to see these gradated values based off of our ramp. And so from here, the next thing we can do is throw down a color node, because this visualize is just giving us the ability to see what we have here, but this color ramp is actually going to give us the ramp from color that we want. So instead of constant, let's go to ramp from attribute. Go ahead and turn off that visualize, and then we'll throw in our age. And we just do that ramp again. We just work with that again. So moving forward, now that we know that that color information is in there and available to us, we can actually skip the visualize and just go straight to the color node. Moving forward. Okay. Let's throw down our red. Again, take that ramp down. And actually sometimes I like take this down dark. A really dark purple right after our red. Give us something interesting. Let's see, 1, 5. Where do we want to go? 3. No, not quite. Yeah, because that's not giving us all the range we want. We'll go back down to 0.15. And we had in here before also a little bit of orangish color. I think we had set that to black body. We can do that again. And just play with our ramps until we find something that we like. And I think I had thrown a little bit of green. Yeah, sure. Well, you know what? How about some pink? Let's just go with that. Okay, so now we have that color information inside. We can throw down our rasterize. Whoops. By attributes. And I want to bring in density, color, Whoops. Age and vorticity. Decrease that voxel size and decrease that particle size. And let's see what attributes we have defeated. So you'll notice one thing is here we have age, color, dead, life, all these things, but we don't have a density. Now, we can feed this some density by throwing down a wrangle, point wrangle, and as you saw earlier, my point wrangles already have this p-scale baked in. You can just set that yourself. And let's set our min and max. Okay, but then under that is the important one. So we'll say at density equals 1,000. We're going to really crank this number. And now if we want to actually visualize what we have, we want to come down and drop a volume visualization node. And then for that, we'll have to throw density in there and CD to see our color. So now, if I take this density and ramp it up, you can see that now we have a volume that has all of that color information that we created earlier. All right, and so if I come up a level, go back to this nebula base, or actually let's go to this guy. Have to go and reattach our cache, nebula base. Give that just a moment to think. Okay, and now it's back. And let's throw down a transform node real quick, because I just want to take this guy, move him over to the side a bit, and we can take down let's throw down volume visualization here as well. Okay. And then now if I come back up, we can see that if we put them side by side, that this volume, while it has a cool and interesting shape, it doesn't have the ability to have all that internal color variation that we have by using the particle fluid method. And so this guy can be used as sort of a very thin atmospheric, whereas this will be used more towards sort of our hero objects as we move forward. All right, so that gives us two shapes. Now let's work on an alternative method using particle fluid that's going to get us a different look that can be very beneficial moving forward. So let's stop here and move on into that one next.